They called humans fragile, until the first one walked barefoot through their acid plains ambassador. Zexathera's mandibles clicked in barely concealed amusement as she observed the human delegation disembarking from their shuttle. The creatures looked exactly as pathetic as the intelligence reports had suggested. Soft pink skin devoid of natural armor, no visible claws or fangs, and those ridiculous tiny eyes that could barely perceive beyond the narrow visible spectrum. How such a species had ever achieved spaceflight remained one of the galaxy's greatest mysteries. "Welcome to Kethmore Prime," Zexathera announced through her translator, her forearm spreading in what humans apparently interpreted as a welcoming gesture. "We trust your environmental suits are functioning properly. Our atmosphere would dissolve your delicate respiratory systems within moments." The lead human, who had introduced himself as Dr. Marcus Chen, nodded politely. His bulky environmental suit made him appear even more ungainly than his species naturally was. "Thank you for your hospitality, Ambassador. We're honored to establish diplomatic relations with the Kethmore hegemony." Zexathera's inner amusement grew. The Galactic Council had insisted that these humans be granted a chance to prove their worth as a spacefaring civilization, despite every rational species' objections. The Kethmore had been tasked with evaluating their capabilities, a formality really. Everyone knew the soft-bodied creatures would fail spectacularly and return to their isolated system, leaving the galaxy to more suitable species. The tour of the capital city proceeded as expected. The humans shuffled awkwardly in their cumbersome suits, struggling to keep pace with even the slowest Kethmore juveniles. They gasped at the towering crystal spires that the Kethmore had carved from solid rock, using only their natural acid secretions. They marveled at the transportation networks that wove seamlessly through pools of concentrated sulfuric compounds that served as both infrastructure and nourishment for Kethmore society. "Your species has achieved remarkable things," Dr. Chen observed, his voice crackling through the suit's communication system. "We have much to learn from your mastery of chemistry and geological engineering." "Indeed," Zexathera replied, though she noticed how the human's suit readings showed elevated stress markers. The poor creature was probably terrified. "Perhaps you would like to see our acid plains? They represent the pinnacle of our terraforming achievements. We've cultivated vast fields of biochemical processors that can break down any organic matter into useful compounds." The human delegation agreed, as she had known they would. Refusing would mean admitting their inadequacy immediately, while accepting would merely delay the inevitable demonstration of their limitations. The acid plains stretched to the horizon, a vista of bubbling, steaming pools connected by streams of various corrosive solutions. The very air shimmered with caustic vapors that would strip flesh from bone in seconds. Even the Kethmore wore protective gear when working in the outer regions, though their natural carapaces could withstand brief exposure. "Magnificent," Dr. Chen said, and Zexathera was surprised to detect what seemed like genuine appreciation, rather than fear in his voice. "The biochemical complexity must be extraordinary. How do you regulate the pH gradients across such a vast area?" Zexathera found herself actually explaining the process, caught off guard by the humans' technical questions. Despite their fragility, they seemed to possess a surprisingly sophisticated understanding of chemistry. Still, understanding and surviving were entirely different matters. It was during their return journey that the incident occurred. A junior Kethmore engineer, clearly nervous about the proximity to aliens, accidentally triggered a containment breach in one of the transport tubes. High-pressure acid sprayed across the observation platform, and emergency alarms began wailing. Zexathera watched in horror as the corrosive stream struck Dr. Chen's environmental suit, eating through the supposedly impervious material like it was paper. She expected screaming. She expected the human to collapse as the acid reached his skin. She expected to witness the messy dissolution of an alien diplomat and the subsequent diplomatic catastrophe. Instead, Dr. Chen calmly stepped out of the dissolving suit. "Well," he said, apparently unconcerned that he was now breathing an atmosphere that should have immediately destroyed his lungs. "That's inconvenient." Zexthera stared. The human stood in the caustic air, barefoot on metal grating that was already pitting from acid exposure, and seemed more annoyed than terrified. His skin, where the acid had splashed directly, showed only faint reddening. "Impossible," she whispered. Dr. Chen noticed her shock and smiled, an expression that suddenly seemed far less harmless than before. "Oh, right. We probably should have mentioned this earlier. Humans evolved on a Class 12 death world. Our fragile biology includes redundant organ systems, distributed nervous networks, and skin that's essentially a living chemical processing plant." He walked casually to one of the acid streams and dipped his finger into it, causing it to hiss and smoke. "Hydrochloric acid mostly. About pH 0.5. This is actually less corrosive than our stomach acid. We produce that naturally for digestion." Zexthera's worldview was rapidly restructuring itself. "But your suits, your apparent fear of our environment." "Politeness," Dr. Chen explained, now walking barefoot across the acid-slicked platform as if it were a garden path. "We didn't want to seem dismissive of your planet's dangers. Every species we've met has been proud of their homeworld's unique challenges. We thought it would be rude to mention that this is actually more comfortable for us than our own cities." Another human had also shed her damaged suit and was examining one of the chemical processors with naked hands. "Marcus, look at this biofilm matrix. If we could adapt this for waste processing on Earth, we could clean up those old industrial sites in decades instead of centuries." Zexthera felt something she had never experienced before, a creeping realization that she had fundamentally misunderstood what she was dealing with. "Your planet? What is it like?" Dr. Chen's smile grew wider. "Well, most of the surface is covered by a solvent so aggressive that it dissolves most metals on contact. We call it water. The atmosphere contains a gas so reactive that it literally burns organic compounds. We breathe it for energy. Oh, and everything on our planet is constantly trying to kill and eat everything else, so we developed brains large enough to outthink our predators and each other." He gestured at the acid plains around them. "This is basically a peaceful nature, preserved by Earth standards." As Zexthera watched the humans begin to explore the most dangerous region of her homeworld, with the casual enthusiasm of tourists, she realized that the Galactic Council had made a serious error in assessment. These weren't fragile creatures seeking protection from superior civilizations. They were apex predators from a nightmare world, and they had just introduced themselves to the galaxy. Her first priority would be recommending immediate diplomatic alliance. Her second would be ensuring that no one was ever stupid enough to make humans angry. The galaxy, she realized, had just become a much more interesting and dangerous place.